Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 update 1.46. In this video of update 1.46 I'll be taking you through the 5 new engine swaps which came alongside this update. Again, sticking with the recent sort of theming of engine swaps as of late when it comes to updates. This one is all around LS swaps and Chevy engine swaps. So if you're a fan of these, then these will totally suit you down to the ground. Now there is a couple of engine swaps in this one that are almost nonsensical but absolutely ridiculous nonetheless. That being 2 new race cars which now feature Chevy engine swaps. That being the Honda NSX and also the Bugatti Veyron, which funnily enough does get a swap. Now originally I assumed that the Honda would get the GT500 swap from that version of the NSX, and I also thought the Bugatti would have got the Chiron engine swap, but no, turns out the whole theming is around Chevy engine swaps as well as LS and LT swaps. So the first engine swap of the update is the LT5 Corvette C7 engine swap, obviously from the 2019 Corvette C7 or the ZR1 model. This one is a very prominent engine swap in game. I believe it already has a bunch of swaps prior to this update, so it is quite a known engine swap and it is relatively cheap and very powerful once upgraded. So let's have a look at the cars that you can now swap this engine into. The first of these cars is going to be the Corvette C1. This is one of the post-launch Corvettes, I believe the latest Corvette addition to the game as well, and perhaps one of my favourites. It now does receive this engine swap. As you can see, it takes it from the small block 283 Corvette C1 engine, and obviously we'll swap in the LT5 Corvette engine for 167,000 credits. As you can see, displacement goes from 4638 to 6162. It'll go from naturally aspirated to supercharged. Kilogram will go down to 1284. BHP up to 754, max torque 98.9, and weight to power ratio for this one will be 1.67. A pretty ridiculous swap for a absolute American icon. So in terms of the engine swap itself, it does retain a bunch of upgradable features, and again this will be the same for the next car as well. So you can upgrade this car pretty much fully with all of the typical LT5 engine parts. So you're not limited. Once you put it in, you can go ahead and make some pretty ridiculous max level builds with this one. In terms of the 2 LT5 swaps, I did find this one the better of the 2. However, that's going to lead me into car number 2, which is going to be the C2 Corvette. This is obviously the Stingray, absolutely stunning design and machine, now having the LT5 swap. In my opinion, this is the weaker of the 2 vehicles, unfortunately, with the engine swap. I found that the C1 just managed to handle that power much better. As you can see, the price point is going to be the same, so 167,000 credits for this one. In terms of the PP rating, it will go from 514.11 to 582.39. CC goes from 5354 to 6162, naturally aspirated to supercharged. Weight will go from 1380 to 1320. BHP 359 to 754. As you can see, the max torque will go to 98.9, and the weight to power ratio a little bit more on this one, 1.72. Overall, not a bad engine swap, but again, as mentioned, I did find that this one didn't handle the power as well. In terms of the upgrades, once again, you can still maintain all of the upgrades for the LT5, so there is a ton of options available and a ton of PP ratings or ranges that you can go for with this car. It really isn't too bad, but again, unfortunately, it is the weaker of the 2 in my honest opinion. So let's move on to the next engine swap of the bunch, and perhaps my favourite of them all. This is going to be the LS7 Rampage engine. Again, a very prominent engine swap ever since this car came into the game. I feel like this one really kind of started off being very, I guess, good overall once it got swapped into the DeLorean. This one can now go in a Group 4 race car, that being the Honda NSX Group 4. Again, like I mentioned at the start of this video, I thought this would have got the GT500 swap, but no, it turns out it now has an LS7 swap in it for 2 250,000 credits. So at a glance, it will take the PP rating from 63910 to 718.29. Displacement will go from 3,493 to 6,997. Turbocharged to naturally aspirated, the weight will go up from 1360 to 1366, just a slight increase. BHP 394 to 748. Max torque will go to 96.7, and then weight to power ratio will actually go to 1.79. Again, it has a ton of customizable features, which is pretty cool for an overall race car. However, it does then lose the ability of its fuel consumption that comes with these typical race car engines. However, it is an absolute blast to drive around. This one is just insanely rapid, and I was surprised how well the NSX Group 4 actually handled all of that power. That is going to be the only engine swap for the Rampage as we move on next to the final two. These are going to be the LS7 BRZ swaps, obviously from the Subaru BRZ drift car. Overall, this is a pretty mental swap to begin with, and it can be very, very customizable. So the first one this is going to go into is that big old Lexus LC500, finally getting a swap, and perhaps one of the most beautiful road cars in the entire game in my opinion. It's a big old boat, but this does finally get a big old engine swap as well. This gets the LS7 BRZ for 300,000 credits. PP rating goes from 54782 to 632.56. CC 4,968 to 7,816. Naturally aspirated to turbocharged. Weight will go down to 1923. BHP to 1037, max torque 121 dead on, and weight to power ratio is 1.82. This is a pretty mental engine swap, and if you like to build big old drift cars, then this is probably going to be one for you, but it is also very useful for road car races as well. Bit more expensive, but overall this can build a massively ridiculous fast car. The LC500 actually really does put a lot of this power down relatively well, and you can get some big PP ratings on this thing. Again, very usable, but also very, very not fuel efficient. Again, it will massively drink it, but with this being a road car originally, you won't notice it as much as some of the race car to road car engine swaps. Overall, not too bad. And that is going to move me into the second car that can get this swap, the Bugatti Veyron Group 4. This one I honestly thought would have got the Bugatti Chiron engine swap, but it turns out no, they are going for the LS engine swaps. So the LS7 BRZ, once again 300,000 credits as standard. The PP rating will be 626.93 to 740.99. Now the displacement will go down from 7993 to 7816. It will stay turbocharged. As you can see, the good thing about this one is it is four-wheel drive. Kilograms will go down by a fair chunk, so 1650 to 1535. BHP 4333 to 1037, max torque 121, and weight to power ratio is pretty mental at 1.45. Overall, a great engine swap on paper, and again, giving this some ridiculous high power build. As you can see, all of the typical parts that come with this vehicle can be added on, so you really can dig deeper into the customization of this engine. However, it is still very, very limited, and overall, I would say that in terms of the Group 4 swaps, the NSX is just the better of the two. However, that high-powered Bugatti is absolutely incredible as a race car. So overall, it is a very LS swappy themed update in terms of the engine swaps. Some of these are pretty cool overall. I really do like the LC500. I also really like the NSX. Unfortunately for the race cars, they do lose that potential of great fuel consumption. However, the trade-off, or I guess the plus point of them, is the fact that they are insanely quick and really fun to drive. Anyway, that is the engine swaps for update 1.46. Let me know what you think of them down below. A big thank you to all of my channel members, and a big thank you to you guys watching this video. Take care, guys. Peace.